Everybody, welcome back to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com, and here on my YouTube channel, and this time out we're going to take a look at the new release of the Slate Digital FGA. This is the EQ, the API emulation by Slate Digital. Just came out, I don't know, about a day or so ago, and I thought I would throw my hat in the ring. I just got a chance to use it a little bit. It sounds really good. And I want to show it to you on a drum bus, a couple of single drum elements, and maybe also a guitar as well, so you can kind of hear what the FGA will do for your mixes. But before we get to that, if you like what you see in this video, hit that subscribe button below, and also go out to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. I want to give you 5 free mixing training courses worth about $110 in value. 5 free mixing training courses just for visiting HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. Go to the homepage, click on the orange button, get those courses delivered to you ASAP. And now let's head on into Studio One. And here is the FGA, which is part of the virtual mix rack. So I tell people all the time, people ask me a lot about third-party plugins and these vintage analog plugin emulations, and what should I buy? I don't know what to get. A lot of my followers see I use Universal Audio an awful lot, and I really love the UA stuff, but it's expensive to get into. You know, the hardware, the plugins are very expensive, and people say, if you can't deal with that, kind of from a budgetary point of view, what would be my recommendation? And I always recommend the Slate Digital Everything Bundle. It works out to be around $14 US a month, and you get all of their plugins and all of the updates for free. And I've done tons of videos on all their different plugins, not to mention probably 70% of all my Made Easy and Quick Mix products have some Slate Digital plugins being used in the mix. Somehow, some way, they're there, so you can always go check those out. And they make excellent plugin emulation. Slate Digital does a great job, and this API over here, this 500 series API on the far right here, is no exception to that. They've hit it out of the ballpark once again. So what's great about the Everything bundles, as I said, you get all their plugins and you get the virtual mix rack, which is what you see here. And the virtual mix rack is a 500 series kind of a racking plugin system where you can put in everything from console emulation, like the virtual channel here of the VCC. They have a whole bunch of compressors and EQs, as you can see here on the left-hand side. We're not going to go through all of them today. And up until the release of the FGA, the API, they always had the Neve and the SSL EQs have been around for a while, the FGN and the FGS, which are the Neve and the SSL. And now this is a great complement, the FGA. Now you have the API, you have the 3 main consoles and their EQ sections, and this is really good. So what we're going to do here is we're going to listen to this on a drum bus. Now on this mix, or on these drums, there's no other plugins except a little bit of compression on the front end, but there's no other processing involved. They're pretty much raw tracks here. So if we just cycle this little loop here, I have this off right now, and then I'm just going to turn it on, check the power button here in the top to left-hand corner of this API. We're going to hear what it does to this drum bus, and then I'm just going to walk through the layout and show you what I kind of did. So here we go. So here's without it, and then keep your eye on the power button. Okay, so it really adds a lot of crack and a lot of thump to the bottom end here. Again, there's no other EQ really being used anywhere else on the drum kit at all. Those are raw tracks. It's a little bit of compression. So let's walk through the layout of this API plugin here. It's really simple. So over here at the top here, we have our high frequencies here, and we go from 10K all the way up to 12.5K, and it's all stepped, just like an API console EQ is. Or actually, excuse me, it goes from 2.5K to 20K. I'm sorry, I read it backwards. 2.5K to 20K, and it's all stepped, okay? Stepped frequencies. Now, what's really cool about this plugin, which is not part of the hardware, is if you hold down on a Mac keyboard, your command key, or I think Windows, it'll be the Windows key, hold that down and then turn this knob, and you can see it's completely sweepable between the steps. That's unique to this plugin. That does not happen on the hardware, okay? So that's pretty cool of Slate Digital to do. One of the things that make the Neve and the SSL nice is you can sweep the entire range. With the API hardware, it's all stepped. They chose the frequencies for you, and you have to kind of choose between them. Not with this plugin. You just hold down the Apple key or the Windows key. You can sweep between them. So that's the high frequencies. It's plus or minus 12 dB here, okay? Then in our high mids here, we go from 2K to or 200 hertz to 5K. Okay. And again, plus or minus 12 dB. Over here in the low mids, we go from 200 hertz to 5K again. So they doubled up the mid band here to give you 2 points of which you can EQ, which again, I don't believe is the way it is on the hardware. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe any API EQ has that doubled up band there. They make it a 4-band EQ. But anyway, it goes from 200 hertz to 5K. So that's kind of nice. And then our low frequencies go from 30 hertz to 400. We have our filter button here, which will give us high pass and low pass filters. Okay, and then we have this op amp button, which adds the transformers, the transformers here, which is kind of nice. So if you want to hear the coloration of the transformers, you click in the op amp button. They have a bunch of different presets that you can use here, and I've used a lot of their presets in a lot of their other plugins. And I will say I'm not a big fan of presets, but in the Slate Digital products, a lot of their presets are very, very usable or an excellent starting point. So you may want to play around with that. So on this drum bus now, okay, we had about, what did I do here? We did about 10K here. We did about a 4 dB increase here. Right around 400 hertz, we pulled out a couple of dB. Okay, and again, you can double that up here. And then down at 50 hertz, I added 4 dB to give us a little bit of kick drum. So if I start with it on and I'll take it away again. Before, after. So here's the 10K. Adds a lot of life, a lot of punch, and a lot of crack, and it doesn't sound harsh. The one great thing about the FGA APIs in general on their EKs is they're very smooth, especially on the top end. You can boost up that top end quite a bit, and it always sounds very smooth. It doesn't sound harsh like something like a stock EQ would normally sound harsh. You start boosting in that 10, 12, 15K range, you put a big boost on it, and it gets like nails on a chalkboard. Not with this. Really, really nice. And again, this EQ pairs really nice with the VCC if you're using the API console. Now you have the console emulation of the API desk going into the EQ, and it would just be great now if maybe Slate Digital comes out with a API compressor in the 500 rack series, so you have the full channel strip. And if they did the same thing with the Neve and the SSL, that would make this really complete. And who knows, they probably have something going on in the works. Slate Digital always does. So this is what it sounds like on a drum bus. Okay, if we go down to, let's say, a lead vocal here, a male lead vocal, and we'll solo this up here. We'll get rid of the drums here for a second. Again, no other processing, no tuning, no nothing on this thing here. We're going to pull up the virtual mix rack. We just got a little bit of compression on it, and that's it. So we'll take it away and we'll bring it in, and I'll show you what we did.
Are looking for direction. They can't fight off the infection of all of this hate.
So
what we're gonna do to heal the wounds from fighting, we need to start deciding where we go from here.
Okay, so that's what we did here. So on the lead vocal here, you can see at 20K, I boosted up 9 dB. That's an example of how you could just add some air to the vocal and not have it get harsh or nasty or real ear piercing. And again, this is in solo. If you bring this in with the context of the mix, which we'll do in a second, I'll play the whole mix. And you can see what a 9 or 12 dB boost at 20K can have that vocal just sit on top of the mix. Right around 500 hertz here, we did about a 2 dB increase as well. We did a little bit of mid. That was really it. And then I turned on the filters and put the low cut filter on here. And we got the op amp button engaged as well. Okay, so once again here, before.
Around every corner, fighting with each other, and that ain't good. Wherever I look, I see fear on all their faces, in all the different places around the world. the people everywhere.
Okay, now let's hear that in the context of a mix. Let's turn the whole mix on here. And again, this is not really a mixed track. It's pretty raw with a little bit of compression, but that's really it. So it's not a fully mixed song by any means.
Are looking for direction. They can't fight off the infection of all of this hate. So what we're gonna do to heal the wounds from fighting? We need to start deciding where we go from here. Promote the passion deep inside your soul. Empower your brother to be a better person. We're rising up, 'cause we've had enough of the hate that divides us.
So you can hear at that 20K, I even backed it off a little bit. Hear how it cuts through the mix and it just gets that vocal to sit on top of everything. When you take the API away, it gets very dark sounding and it gets clouded into the mix. It falls back into the mix. So again, this is really, really good. Again, this is a really good sign when you talk about EQs and manufacturers that modeled this old vintage gear. Number one, does it sound like the real thing? Well, I don't have an API sitting here in front of me. I've used an API desk in the very distant past. I know it sounds very API-ish. Is it exactly like the hardware? Who knows? Who cares? It sounds great. But one of the tests you can use on any EQ is if you start boosting that real top end, as I say, and boost it all the way up, does it get really nasty and really crispy on the top, or does it stay kind of smooth? That's the real test. And they did a wonderful job with this. So this really makes things, or a vocal especially, sit on top of the mix. So this is great. And if you compare this, and we won't do this in this video, but if you have the Slate Digital stuff, compare it to the Neve and the SSL. Now you have three very different flavor EQs, depending on your source material and what you want to use it for. So it sounds really, really good. So let's check it out one more time on maybe, let's say, a little bit of a clean, funky electric guitar here. Let's try it on this. Before, after. Okay, so on a clean guitar like that, clean kind of a rhythmic kind of a deal, we boosted up here at 12.5K, about 4 dB, and I could boost it up even more, and again, it stays smooth sounding. There's 9 dB. Never gets harsh. Okay, 50 hertz here. I took out a couple of dB to take out some of the bottom end. Bring that back a little bit, because we're doing this in solo. 500 hertz. Added a couple of dB, get a little mid-range to cut through the mix. Once again, before, after. Put it in the context of the mix so you can hear what that sounds like and how that big boost on the top end really helps it cut through the music.
Are looking for direction. They can't fight off the infection of all of this hate. So what we're gonna do to heal the wounds from fighting? We need to start deciding where we go from here. Promote the passion deep inside now. Fighting with each other, that ain't good. Wherever I look, I see fear on all their faces in all the different places around the world.
Really sounds great. Nice job. Really good job by Slate Digital on this. The FGA, which is the API emulation. Again, if you have the Everything bundle, you get this for free. Go download it today, upload it into your, or update it to your virtual mix rack. If you don't have the Slate Digital products, or if you are someone who just buys the plugins individually before they had these packages available, you could buy it individually as well, I believe, once you have the VMR. I'm not sure on the price. You're going to want to check their website. But again, I encourage people that if you're buying their plugins separately, you're better off getting the all everything bundle and just paying the $150 a year, or whatever it works out to be. It's $14 a month. And I believe certain times during the course of the year, especially Black Friday between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they even run a little bit of a discount on that as well. Every time they put out a plugin, 99% of the time, they're home runs. There's not really, out of all their Slate Digital plugins, I can't really think of any duds in the bunch. There's a couple of the compressors I'm not too fond of, but almost everything else, and 90% of their plugins in this everything bundle, I use them all the time. You see me using the VCC. I use the virtual bus compressors all the time. I use the Neve and the SSL EQs. I'm going to start using this API. I really think they're great. So I urge you to check them out. So I hope you like this little look here at the FGA by Slate Digital. Again, go download it, check it out. You can always demo it if you don't own any Slate Digital plugins. And once again, go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, get your 5 free training courses today. And as well, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, follow me all over the place, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.